And what was life like in the camps for young children, Thomas?
Well, there wasn't much to do. It wasn't a holiday camp or a summer camp or anything like that. It was a pretty miserable place. But children being children always find something to do. And my first games, if you can say, with other children occurred when we were still in Szered. And we were there for about 3 or 4 weeks, or maybe even more. I'm not really sure how long we were there, but I befriended some of the other children, and we used to run around outside and play games, chasings, and the same thing as any other children do. And we also used to play hide and seek. And I remember specifically one time when it was raining and we were running around inside the barracks and playing hide and seek, and I decided to hide under a bed, and the children somehow forgot about me, and I ended up fiddling around, and I fiddled with the wall, and there was a loose brick there, and I pulled this brick out, and inside the wall I felt around and I thought there's going to be a buried treasure or something there, as every 6-year-old has an imagination, and I felt something touch my hands, and it was a toothpaste tube that I pulled out of there, and I couldn't believe that anyone would hide a toothpaste tube. I expected a gun or a toy or something, but not toothpaste. So I was so angry I unscrewed it, and I was going to squeeze all the toothpaste all over the floor under the bed, but nothing came out of the tube. And in those days all tubes were made out of aluminium, so I unpicked the end of the tube and I found a great wad of paper in there, and I pulled this paper out and it was really money. So I immediately ran home to my mother with that tube and another tube that I found, both full of money. Some poor person must have hidden it in the wall for them to pick it up when they come back, but they obviously never came back. My mother bought clothing for me, some clothing for herself because we weren't ready for the winter, a walking stick for a little old lady, shoes for some of the children, and some cigarettes. My mother always smoked cigarettes because we were cigarette manufacturers, and after that we played dominoes. Actually, we found a box of dominoes somewhere, and we always found something silly to do. We made darts out of an old fork, and we did all sorts of things.
And what about in Terezin?
Well, when we arrived in Terezin, when we were in those barracks, we were a great group of children. There were some older boys and younger boys, and we found a lot of propaganda papers and what have you stacked in the corner, for which we got in a lot of trouble for later because we turned them all into aeroplanes and paper boats. And the older boys taught me how to make paper boats, and I've taught all my children and grandchildren how to do the same thing, and I learnt them when I was 6. I learned at 6 when I had to do it, and I was rather cranky with some of my grandchildren because they couldn't do it at the age of 6. So that was a lot of fun. It kept us occupied because there was very little to do, and some of the older girls that had been previously there at the camp came to our barracks and took us by the hand and took us to a little secret room that they had set up, and they got some paints and pencils from the map-making department. There was a map-making department there, and they gave these things to us so that we could draw pictures. And I mean, I wasn't very good at drawing. I could draw a car and an aeroplane. That was about as good as it got, on a horse that looked very funny. And the ones that were really good were pinned up on the wall, and later on these pictures were circulated around what the children had drawn in Terezin. Some of mine might have got somewhere, but I think most of mine would have ended up in the bin. We also did the same thing. We played hide and seek there, and unfortunately the group of children that I was in, most of them were sort of sickly, and they